Yeah, I wanted to ask you this yesterday. I would assume that you've seen the staff unions, at least four of them, put out their own statement about sexual abuse and accountability in the UN system. And as part of it, they said that one of the reasons that they felt a need to put this out was that, quote, many staff feels are scared to report abuse for fear of retaliation. And I wanted to know, this is not just one. It's sort of, I've asked you about Kompass, various people. This is on behalf of a large percentage of employees of the UN. What's the response of the Secretary General to a pervasive feeling among staff that if they report abuse, they will suffer the same consequence as, for example, Mr. Kompass did?
Well, Mr. Kompass was a senior official. It's not a question. It's not a question of an official above him trying to retaliate. He himself is a senior official. But be that as it may, the basic point is that we want all staff to feel secure. And as you know, we ourselves are trying to provide as much information on sexual exploitation and abuse. As you see, in recent weeks, we've made tremendous strides forward in terms of naming names of contingents that are involved in these sorts of abuses. And we want to make sure that whenever there's any type of abuse, the information comes out and comes out promptly. So the Secretary General has put in place over the years policies to protect people from the threat of retaliation. As you know, there are offices that look into these, including the Ethics Office and the Office of the Ombudsman. And so we're trying to make sure that people do feel secure, and we want them to feel secure. It's certainly a matter of concern that if any staff member does not feel that sort of confidence, because they should.
Right. I got just two different things. One, I didn't expect you to say that on Mr. Kompass. I mean, I think didn't the review show that people above Kompass, he was a senior official, but there were people above him, asked OIOS to investigate him, and that's why he lost his job.
Well, no, they found different things that were improper, and I'd refer you back to the report. I don't believe that anyone has determined this to be a case of retaliation.
And the other question is as part of the staff's request, they say that institute a culture of change at headquarters so that military forces with records of abuse aren't contracted to peacekeeping missions. And as an example of this, I guess yesterday you'd said that DPKO is in fact considering bringing these 800 Burundian soldiers in. And I'm just using this as an example. How would you describe? At what level are they going to vet people? Only at the level of commanders, at the level of individuals, at the level of battalions?
No.
How does it work?
The standard vetting procedure applies, and it applies for all officials. There are, as you know, many times when we have rejected specific individuals because they did not meet our standards in terms of vetting. In the case of the Burundian police, you'll have seen that we have also decided that there's a larger problem at work. So we are at present not accepting further police contributions from Burundi. At the same time, we review the records of all countries. And if there are concerns about other sorts of countries or other sorts of contingents, that would be shown. But I think the very fact that we took this action that we did shows that we are taking very seriously the human rights concerns that are associated with those particular police.
I guess I'm just saying that there seem to be some people in Burundi that don't understand this distinction between police and military. So is it in writing somewhere how the basis on which this determination was made?
This is something that's being reviewed constantly. If there's any need to adjust our pattern, that will happen. But we already looked at concern at that particular record.
Sure. I wanted to, yesterday there's the meeting here in the building is the Convention on the Law of the Sea, UNCLOS. And there was among rights of reply yesterday afternoon, there was a Somalia actually saying that South Korea had acknowledged that its trawlers had engaged in illegal bottom trawling off the coast of Somalia. So something I'm pursuing further, but I wanted to know, is this something that the Secretary General has ever been aware of? Does he have any view of the propriety of these corporations? I say it because Somalia being one of the developed country that he's visited, is he aware of this claim by Somalia that corporate interests from South Korea have illegally trawled the shores off the coast of Somalia?
Well, the purpose of these discussions is to serve as a venue by which this sort of information can be shared. So this is a positive thing in terms of allowing member states to raise their concerns with other member states about actions, including by corporations, not just by governments.
Sure. Okay, but I mean,
And of course, he's aware of the proceedings of the meetings that
Okay.
take place at the UN.
and the other one, this is kind of, since it's Friday, I'll ask you this. There's been a 2-week-long meeting of the decolonization committee with some controversies around it. But one of the controversies that existed was when the chairperson ordered a meeting to be adjourned because the Polisario representative couldn't speak. And the permanent representative of Morocco, said this is a shame, 50 years, it violates all precedents. My understanding is that security was called, and I just wanted to know what is, obviously it's a building that's owned by member states, but what's the protocol? What are the rights of, I guess, UN security as regards to a permanent representative of a country in terms of a meeting being declared closed and a person not leaving?
Ultimately, the rules for meetings are set by the member states that chair those meetings. They're the ones who organize the meetings, and they're responsible for the rules.
But what would be the repercussions of somebody, of a permanent representative of a UN member state not obeying such an order?
Ultimately, we have a relationship with our member states, which depends upon a certain amount of adherence to the rules. The member states themselves agree to the rules, and it applies to all of them equally.
Right, but if it's violated, what happens? That's, I guess, what I'm asking you.
I really don't want to engage in it as a hypothetical. It's something that is dealt with case by case.